So this is what happens when your own federal government wages war against you. This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy when you hear the Vice President of the United States talk about now white people won't have to apologize for being white. That's never happened once in my whole damn life. And I think everybody in this room knows what they're doing. So we're here today to say enough of this. We're here today to stand that Minnesota will protect their neighbors.
It's finally over. That long, exhausting era where America felt like it had to constantly apologize for its own existence, that just hit a wall. A new chapter is starting right now in the American story. And this time, the script isn't written by people who want you to feel guilty. We're seeing the definitive, historic end of the National Apology Tour, and it's happening right under the Stars and Stripes. December 21st, 2025. Mark that date. Vice President JD Vance stood in front of a massive crowd of young patriots at a Turning Point USA event and didn't hold back. He delivered a message that didn't just land in the room, it echoed all the way through the heartland. He made it clear. The days of the federal government forcing you to apologize for your heritage are finished. This wasn't just another stump speech. It was a formal declaration of independence from the divisive DEI policies that have been eating away at our institutions for years. Vance called it what it is, a total failure. A framework that put identity over talent and tried to trade individual character for collective guilt. His words didn't just hint at change. They signaled a ground-up shift in the American landscape. We're talking about a return to a society where you aren't judged by the circumstances of your birth. You could feel the energy in that room. A whole new generation of leaders finally felt that weight of institutional shame lift off their shoulders, replaced by a real sense of national purpose. But if you cross the border into Minnesota, you'll see a completely different version of reality. Just 2 days later, Governor Tim Walz showed up at a community event, and let's just say he wasn't happy. His face was flushed, and he seemed to be struggling with some pretty intense emotions while attacking the vice president's remarks. In what looked like a masterclass in political theater, Walz tried to frame the end of federal DEI mandates as an endorsement of harmful ideologies. His voice was actually trembling at points. He's trying to tell people that the administration's focus on merit is actually a form of government conditioning meant to alienate people. Walz is promising to turn Minnesota into a fortress to keep these changes out, acting as if we're witnessing some tragic loss instead of a return to common sense. His tone was heavy, almost like he was mourning the fact that the very policies this administration is tearing down are finally losing their grip. It's a perfect snapshot of the divide. One side wants to move past identity politics, and the other side is desperate to keep them on life support. The numbers behind this cultural clash tell the real story, a story of a nation at a crossroads. The latest polling shows a massive shift in how people actually feel about these issues, and it's not what the media usually reports. Look at the white working class voters. Nearly 72% of them say they felt unfairly targeted by those old federal diversity mandates. Now, compare that to the deep blue administrative centers, where support for these programs is still sitting high at 64%. But here's the real kicker, the stat that should make the establishment nervous. Over 58% of college-aged men across every single racial background now believe that merit should be the only thing that matters in hiring and admissions. The Trump-Vance administration is using this data as a sledgehammer to break down the ideology of the last decade. They're going after the money, aiming to shut down what they call a bureaucracy of division. This isn't just a war of words. It's a battle over policy and cold, hard cash. The administration is already moving to make sure the $3.4 billion currently burned on federal DEI programs is redirected toward things that actually matter, like operational efficiency and national security. As we look toward the future, the message coming from the top is loud and clear. The American identity isn't going to be defined by grievances anymore. From here on out, it's defined by what we achieve. The Vice President's refusal to play along with the culture of apology isn't just a bit of clever rhetoric. It's a permanent course correction for the Republic. While critics like Tim Walz want to call this a step backward, millions of regular citizens see it as a long overdue dismantling of a system that only existed to create friction. The goal here is simple: create a culture where every citizen, no matter where they came from, feels like they have a fair shot at the American dream without being weighed down by the mistakes of ancestors they never even met. We are watching a narrative that ruled for a generation fall apart in real time. Is it a bold move? Sure. Some might even call it risky. But for anyone who still believes in the traditional American ideal of the individual, it's a moment of massive hope. The era of the apology is dead. The era of national confidence has started. We're going to keep a close eye on this historic shift as it continues to unfold.